Can sovereignty do something that hasn't been done in 30 years? Let's spotlight the favorite right here on NYRA Bets. Hi everyone, Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets and here with a Travers Spotlight video, and this one is on your favorite sovereignty. Who is your 2-5 favorite in the Midsummer Derby? Joining me right now is Kaylie Shapiro here with NYRA Bets, my colleague. Kaylie, thank you so much for joining me on this Spotlight series, and we got a big Saturday coming up here with the Travers.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me. Always look forward to these every year. So excited to be joining you for them this year.
Absolutely. Sure. Now, before we get into this Spotlight on sovereignty, where we talk about the favorite and maybe some pluses, some minuses, if there are any, but we're going to dive into all of this. But make sure to press that like and subscribe button today on NYRA Bets YouTube. Subscribing is entirely free of cost. Just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. Like I said, we got a lot of content here for the Travers, and it's a short field, but we want to do these individual spotlights on the main contenders. Sovereignty, obviously, is a horse that really, at this point, even the casual fan needs very little introduction. Won the Kentucky Derby, won the Belmont Stakes, won the Jim Dandy. He has stamped himself as the top 3-year-old. And now he goes into the Travers as the overwhelming favorite. What are some general thoughts that you have on sovereignty coming into this race and things to keep in mind about him for this race?
Well, definitely the main thing to keep in mind with sovereignty for me is the fact that this is the race that they were talking about since the beginning of this horse's 3-year-old campaign. Yep. They had the Travers circled. Belmont has never won a Travers before. Certainly this could be the horse that could deliver him with that win, which, I mean, we've seen trainers that have obviously tremendous careers that have never won these big name races. Yeah. For example, you know, he got his first Whitney win with Arthur's Ride last year. Chad Brown just won his first Whitney this year. So these things happen. I mean, definitely. And, you know, sovereignty delivered him with his first official Kentucky Derby win this year as well. So lots of firsts with an amazing horse like this. And I believe that he can deliver Mott with his first win.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, he's going to be a tough horse to get around. And so let's dive in and talk about some of the specifics with sovereignty. Sired by Into Mischief out of a Bernardini mare, Godolphin owned and bred. This was a horse that had lofty expectations, as his name would indicate from the very beginning. This is a horse you and I, we've told this story many times to many different people. Our colleague Darwin Vizcaya came in one day to the office last summer and said, Junior Alvarado's on one of Billy Mott's horses. And he says it's the best one he's had. I said, what's the name of the horse? He goes, Sovereignty. And that was a name that stuck. You saw him in person at the Street Sense back in October. You came back a real believer in this horse at that point. And to see him mature this year has been just so incredibly impressive.
It's been so incredible. I mean, he's a complete different horse. It's funny you bring up the Street Sense. I was looking at the picture I took on my phone of him that day, and he was 2 years old. Yeah. And you could say that the horse has certainly blossomed into a monster as a 3-year-old. And certainly he's been conditioned with care and precision through every step of this campaign. We definitely look back to the Belmont Stakes. Sovereignty looked tremendous that day. Yeah. Perfectly fit, ready. Yeah. You know, that was a huge performance of his. And then the Jim Dandy, you know, the horse, you could tell he wasn't at his fullest potential. He wasn't at 100%. And I'm not saying not, you know, in his running, but certainly the way that the horse looked. He wasn't completely fit. He wasn't completely cranked. Yeah. That's what I mean by cranked is, you know, fitness level. Yeah. And Mott even said himself that the horse looks and is training like he did exactly before the Belmont. So that's very encouraging to hear. Obviously, he ran a 109 that day. Yeah. We have a new face on the scene that's run a 108 before. Yeah. So that's definitely adds another layer. But if I'm not mistaken, let's think back to last year's Travers when we were deciding if Torpedo Anna could show up against males. And the big knock on her was that she needed to improve by at least blank number of
about 10, 15 points.
By her speed figure points. Yeah. You know, obviously.
And then magically she did it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
That was kind of amazing. She just suddenly became 12 points faster when she ran against boys.
And I mean, buyers are what I go by.
Yeah, no, same here.
All the time. But I mean, buyers don't really take into consideration if a horse is all out or not.
Yeah.
Or if they're running up to their fullest potential. Sovereignty is a horse that I believe we haven't seen the best from. And I thought that we both did about her going into the Travers last year. And she was able to run up and, you know, improve her figure by X number of points, not remembering the specifics. I think she ran a 111 that day. Very impressive. And Sovereignty, I mean, I believe the horse is completely capable of running a similar figure. And although it's a 5-horse field, I feel like we're extremely lucky to have this horse running at this track, and that other horses showed up as well to make the race interesting.
Absolutely. No, you bring up a lot of really good points. I think one of the things you're right. We talked about last year with Anna. Maybe one of the reasons the speed figures was a little light leading up to some of those races was she was rarely ever being asked for her all. What's interesting is Sovereignty really, you could say, is the same thing. Rarely do you see Junior go to the whip. And when you do see him go to the crop, it's once or twice. It's, you know, he's not going 5-6 times to the limit on this horse the way that Rispoli had to go to the crop so many times on journalism. A lot of times when you see Sovereignty make his move, it's shaking the reins. It's a hand ride, and he gets there. And there's very little fear from Junior Alvarado, the jockey, that he's not going to get there. So he's ridden very confidently. You're right about the Jim Dandy. I mean, I saw him that day in the paddock, I don't have a great eye. I admit you have a far better eye for physical handicapping than I do. But even I looked at him and thought, a little round around the edges. You know, just a little rounded around the edge. A little bit like me, maybe, after an all-you-can-eat buffet. A little rounded around the edges. Not quite as defined, to your point. And I had the pleasure of standing next to Donna Brothers right before the race. And she goes, is there any way this horse loses? I said, maybe if he's not 100%. And she goes, he's a little round. It's not going to matter. And it did not matter. But it's one of those things where Sovereignty, the other big thing about him, I think that you can speak to a little bit is what a different dimension he's shown now running the last couple of races. Was a deep closer, now has been really closely tracking the pace these last 2 times out. So multi-dimensional in his running style.
Yeah, he is. And when I call Sovereignty a great horse, which I believe he is, that statement also came after we saw Sovereignty show a new dimension. I mean, I can't think of many horses off the top of my head that are able to adjust their style or what people believe to be their style in order to get the job done in short fields with no speed or no pace to close into. You know, they thought maybe that he was a deep closer, as you could see from the Kentucky Derby, as well as his first the 2 starts prior as well.
The Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby,
And then he just showed a complete different dimension in the Belmont and the Jim Dandy, sitting closer to the pace than he ever had to. And that's what I think stamps him as a great horse. Not a lot of horses can do that.
Well, it's funny because we talk about last year's Travers. I've never seen Fierceness show a second dimension, much to my chagrin, by the way. I want Fierceness to show a second dimension a lot of times. Anna kind of has her trip, or she doesn't a lot of times. You know, she kind of likes that
tactical,
she's tactical, but she's not a deep closer necessarily. No. She can't do that. And Sierra Leone, he's got one trick. Now it's a hell of a trick, but he's got one trick. I've never seen Sierra Leone sit within 2 lengths of the pace and then be able to win. No. So, you know, this horse just can do things differently than so many other horses out there. He's so hard to get around. I understand the 104, you know, it pales in comparison to what obviously Magnitude was able to run in that 108 in the Risen Star, 105 in the Iowa Derby. I understand that they take, you know, quality of competition into consideration, but this is going to be a big class test for a horse like Magnitude. Sovereignty not only has answered the bell every time, he's answered the bell this distance every time, the 1.25 miles. He's run it twice before. He's won it twice before. That to me is the big deciding point.
I believe, based on what we've seen from him so far, that 1.25 miles will be or is his best distance.
I agree.
Certainly, if you look at his pedigree, I mean, just watch the way that the horse moves compared to everyone else next to him. When he extends from his shoulder, that big movement that he has, that big fluid movement. Not a lot of horses have that. And not a lot of horses can sit in two complete different spots in a race and still come with that powerful drive at the end as well. Watch when Sovereignty switches his leads at the top of the stretch. And the gear that he kicks into and the way that that horse starts moving, he just starts picking them up like flies. I mean, and certainly I believe that Baeza and Journalism are the two other best horses in the 3-year-old crop. Just based on what we've seen from them so far, I don't think that's pretty difficult to argue with. Journalism and Baeza,
safe statement.
Are also at the top of that list. Obviously, I believe Sovereignty is better than them both. But my point is that if Journalism was here, Journalism has the opportunity to beat him from behind. I can't think of a horse that's going to outkick him. And I can't think of a horse that's going to stay running and hold him off either, no matter where he's coming from, getting the 1.25 mile distance for the first time ever. I'm talking about Magnitude, Bracket Buster, Strategic Focus. I just don't see any of them continuing on with the powerful run that they've been sustaining for the entire race at the end. I think the final furlong, a horse hasn't done that before, 1.25 mile distance, and has to also run up front as well. And Magnitude's probably going to want to establish a pretty healthy distance between him and the rest of the field. I have a hard time seeing them sustaining that run. I'm not trying to be biased here. I'm thinking of a million ways that this horse, that Sovereignty can get beat. It's really hard to see that. I mean, at all. So I'm going to try to find some value underneath and just really accept, honestly, that Sovereignty is a really great horse, and it's going to be pretty hard to beat him. Although anything's possible. I think we're in agreement on that.
Yeah, we are. Listen, he's a very impressive horse, and he's one who, like I said, can do so many different things. He can do them well. And I think one of the things that is particularly telling, and that I was as big a fan of Journalism as there was. Love that horse. I still do love that horse. He went by Journalism easy. Both times. Easy. Now, Journalism's decided to face Nisos out in California and face older horses rather than come back east to face Sovereignty for a third time, because they know what the result's going to be if they face a third time. It's going to be Rispoli going all out and Junior giving a hand ride and going right by nice and easy yet again. And so it's just hard for me to think suddenly, to your point, a horse that's up on the front end is going to be able to outkick Sovereignty coming for home when those big, powerful strides have tracked down the second best horse I've seen in the last 5 years in terms of Journalism.
Yeah, I am in complete agreement with that. And I mean, we don't know what the exact story is, to play devil's advocate. I mean, Journalism.
Well,
he's in his backyard out there.
Exactly.
He would have to travel all the way back here to do that again. He's in a great spot. He has a great shot in the Pacific Classic against older horses. That would be amazing to add to his resume. But let's call it what it is. A lot of horses are going to Parks for the Pennsylvania Derby. And I mean, Baeza did the prep here. He's shipping to the Pennsylvania Derby, but he's not shipping to Saratoga. The shipping's not the problem. I mean, I'm just thinking, I respect every horse in this race. I have not a doubt in my mind that Sovereignty is going to put on a show on Saturday. So I'm just hoping everything goes right, and really excited to see the horse run.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it's horse racing. As you said, things happen at the break. Things happen mid-stretch, 5-horse fields. That's one thing I will say. Richie Migliore, maybe I'll close out on this, not to close out on a negative, but Richie Migliore always said, favorites get into more trouble in short fields than any other type of races. And he was referring to Anna in last year's Coaching Club America Oaks, which was, I think, a 4-horse field, if I'm not mistaken. And she actually had a little bit of a trouble getting out of the gate that day. And we saw it with good cheer as well during the Oak preps. There was a 4-horse field, and she was like struggling to get out at the top of the stretch. So sometimes when everybody knows, hey, we got to focus on this one horse and keep this one horse from beating us, that, we've seen that with Anna and tactics deployed there as well at different times. So, yes, that can happen. So we take all of this into consideration. But if you just go, they run this race 100 times, he wins this race probably 90 of them. And I just, you're more bullish than I, but I would say 90. I'm maybe a little more conservative. But he's going to be a short price. We know that. But he looks to be quite the horse. He's looking to do something, as I teased in the beginning, that has not been done in 30 years since Thunder Gulch, winning the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont, and the Travers.
I mean, how amazing is that? We could see something historic on Saturday, and also we could see the future horse of the year, which is pretty exciting.
Because the next stop's the Breeders' Cup Classic, and that's where we'll really see when the rubber meets the road. So listen, thank you so much for tuning into this Travers Spotlight on Sovereignty. Make sure to tune back to get our Travers Spotlights on Magnitude and Strategic Focus as well. For Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races, and reminding you, friends, it's now post time.